Now we will move on to item number 8. Councilmember Myers.
The motion that I have to present to council am I not on? Okay. Is amendments to City Code Section 8, TAC 1, TAC 22, known as the Prohibiting Camping Ordinance. And what I am proposing is that certain language be removed from the ordinance, specifically that part of the ordinance that defines camping. I'm proposing that we strike from the language the prohibition on sleeping on or under sleeping bags, atop and or covered by materials such as bedroll, cardboard, newspapers, etc. And yes, ma'am.
The recommendation on this item says that the City Council approve amending exactly what you said, Section 8-1-22,
right,
to remove the prohibition relating to sleeping on public lands or on or under blankets, newspapers, cardboards, or other items, and providing that law enforcement agencies are tasked with providing information to individuals on the location of shelters. Is that your motion? Is that the motion that you want? That's the one that's presented to us.
I want the, also adding sleeping bags, which is CI, Section 8, TAC 1, TAC 22, paren 1, paren C 1, to include sleeping bags in that motion.
Move the approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Okay, any comments from council?
We have cards.
Yes, we have cards. Okay. Madam Clerk, you have that. Okay. Did you have the add to sleeping bags?
Yes, that is in your package.
Package, okay. Yes. All right, thank you. I have about 20 cards here, and so the time limit will be for 2 minutes. We want to get as many people in as possible so that they can share their views with us. The first person is 2 minutes, and our first speaker will be Mr. Nathan Monk. Please, I ask for your consideration. I mean, the clapping and everything is wonderful about your passion, but please keep it down. Thank you. Mr. Monk?
First, I would like to thank the mayor and his staff for responding to me and 14,000 of my closest friends. I would like to thank Councilman Wingate, Bear, and Myers for championing this all along. Everyone else, welcome. And I would like to speak most importantly to the audience. I think that it is obvious what direction we're going here tonight. I mean, you guys are pretty amicable at this point, I think. And so I'm going to keep the rhetoric low, you know, and my hopes high tonight. And I hope that we can, you know, share our anecdotes, share the stories of our friends, and keep it at that. And then, at the end, if they mess up, we get to come up here and call them a bunch of potty words. But until then, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, and let's hope for the best and get through tonight, because I think we've made some great success. Once we have our task force, I hope that we will make even bigger successes. So I appreciate you guys tonight, and I look forward to seeing how you vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Myers, you had your light on. Did you want to speak?
I'll speak after the audience.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jimmy Brown.
tell you folks, this is what it's all about. I live here in Pensacola, and I own property in Pensacola, but I wasn't always that way. I was out on the street one day. I didn't know where to go, what to do, and some people gave me a helping hand. I slept in a bathroom on the interstate one time because I was cold, it was raining, it was the middle of the night, and that's when I was in the Navy, because I missed my bus. I didn't think I went to jail. We'll get slapped down by having to go to captain's mast because somebody didn't want to see me in a bathroom asleep in the middle of the night. I'd look up here and I see a lot of people that have probably never had a mental illness, never have missed a meal, and never have made a bad decision. I have. And I've made some good ones. And through the help of a lot of people and the sharing of some things like a blanket and a helping hand, I own a business now. And I tell you, it wasn't 10 years ago, I was on the street. And my father died as a result of Nagasaki, but he fought World War II and he fought in Korea, and he died from radiation trying to protect the rights of Americans. We wouldn't be able to stand here today, I don't believe, if it wasn't for people like him. And I tell you, I'm ashamed of my town right now because this legislation should have never been put in place to start with. Everyone should be ashamed of themselves. And a lot of people ought to be thinking about what they're going to do come election day for another job. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barbara Mayall. After Ms. Mayall, Ms. Barbara Mayall. No? You okay? Ms. Barbara Mayall? And after Ms. Mayall is Alistair McKenzie.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. I spoke before, and I was against you passing this also. And I've fallen on hard times before. I'm not going to go into all that, but any one of us could be on the street. Stock market could fall. Real estate could get burned. Who knows? So I'm here tonight to support this, and I'm here tonight to give a really nice, warm lamb's wool blanket to someone. So I thank you so much for this.
Thank you. And Mr. McKenzie, could you please start coming down? There's quite a few of you, so. After Mr. McKenzie, it will be Diane, I think it's Crumble, Krumel.
Hello again, members of the City Council. Again, I would like to thank the very people who did not want these to be passed in the first place. And I'd like to thank Ms. Myers for bringing up this small amendment to the ordinance, even though what we know you really want is this ordinance to go away. But we did not expect that Nathan Monk, with his petition, would get 10, 15,000 signatures on it before this day came. And as a result, we have a massive change of heart from those of you who voted for these things in the first place. And I want to thank you for having that change of heart. I don't care what caused your change of heart. What matters is that we're starting to get rid of this stuff. And what we need to do, and what I would really recommend one of y'all do, is you make an amendment to this ordinance tonight to get rid of this ordinance completely. And I think you should also move for new agenda item tonight to get rid of the other two ordinances that you passed. Because all it's going to take is another petition going online saying you can't wash your face in the bathroom, and we're going to be sitting here again. And what we need to do is we need to get rid of these ordinances, and we need to do what Mr. Johnson's proposing, which is put a task force together to work together with the community and with your homeless outreach services here to start providing some beds, because most people don't know we don't have permanent beds in this city. That's why these laws are just so terrible to begin with. So I urge you to vote for this small amendment tonight, but I want you to go further. I want you to get rid of all of these ordinances that you passed back in May. That's what'll make it really right. And it'll also relieve a nice economic burden off of the police department in town from having to hassle people about these ordinances. So thank you very much for your time. I'm very hopeful that we have a genuine change of heart here in the city of Pensacola, and let's see how big that change of heart is and take it all the way. Thank you.
Ms. Combo. And after her is Michael Kimbrell.
Yes, my name is Diane Crummell, and I've lived here in Pensacola for over 50 years. And what I see is a really sad situation that should have never occurred. I've driven around many times and seen the homeless out there, and you know, my heart goes out to them, and I want to reach out and help, and I do whenever possible. But I'm thinking, the county commissioners just left, but they're boasting of this $11 million. I wish they would have taken some of that money to help out the homeless, and the city council as well. I'm urging you to use some of this money that I believe Grover Robinson said was going to take us out of poverty, you know, to give us these jobs, to bring in the aerospace. Let's just start right here at home, you know, and take care of the homeless. And we do have the money. I'm a taxpayer, and I'm actually asking and really demanding that you find a resolution and approve the task force and get the job done.
Thank you. Michael Kimbrell, and after Michael is Jason King.
Good evening, Council. Michael Kimbrell, 801 East DeSoto Street. I'm just going to concur with everyone. I'm going to keep it short for y'all. Y'all know where I stand. I spoke here when these ordinances got passed and gave y'all all the statistics showing y'all that this was just ridiculous. So thank y'all for starting, but this is not good enough. Y'all need to abolish all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason King. After Jason King is Robert Whitaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jason King, 2991 Escambia Avenue, Pensacola, Florida. I'm the president and founder of Sean's Outpost Homeless Outreach here. I'd like to start off actually by thanking Mr. Nathan Monk here. Nathan joined the Sean's Outpost team in January, and I think from this amazing response to his petition, we can all agree that we made the right decision. One of the things that keeps getting passed around about this blanket ordinance, and I talked to Chief Simmons earlier, is that, you know, we haven't had anyone arrested for having a blanket yet now, because, as he said, he, wouldn't have the heart to do it. But what we have had code enforcement officers steal blankets from homeless people. We've been there, seen it happen. And I can't really think of anything worse on this planet than seeing someone freezing outside, saying that you have a blanket and that puts you in violation of an ordinance, and we're going to take that from you. And we have, like Mr. McKenzie said, we have news articles about these things going on, and that's how the outside world sees this. That's how they see Pensacola. And I think that that's an abomination. And like Mr. McKenzie said, I think that this is a Band-Aid. I think that taking this little piece out of these ordinances is ridiculous. And I implore you guys to go the distance on this and end all of this criminalization of homelessness. Because being homeless is not a crime. In our special magistrate hearing for Sean's Outpost that just happened, the special magistrate actually codified that. Being homeless is not a crime. There's nothing in the code for that in the state of Florida. But there is in city council. You guys have functionally made being homeless legal in the city of Pensacola. And you also can have a change of heart. Like you are on this little thing of these blankets, giving someone the ability to stay warm. You could take it upon yourselves to take down all of these other ordinances that make basic human rights illegal here in Pensacola. And I implore you guys to do that. Thank you very much.
Councilman Rivera, do you want to speak?
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. King, I did not recognize you originally without your beard. Because, I still remember it's when I spoke, you mentioned your luscious beard, and I had to repeat that, and my kids even laughed at that. But I don't know. Are you going to grow it back?
So I actually, I sold my beard for $40,000 towards the homeless for Thanksgiving. Wow. We had an auction, and I shaved it off for Bitcoin Black Friday, so it was pretty awesome.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you. Robert Whitaker, is that how I pronounce his name? W-I-N-G-E-R-T-E-R. Okay. After him is Doug Landreth.
Hello, City Council. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. I made this blanket. I made this so I could give it to a homeless person, so they'd be warm. I think it's saddened to me, somebody that's been doing homeless outreach for over 10 years, that I can't give this to somebody to keep them warm because I made love out of it. I put love in this to make it so that they could stay warm. And now if I give this to somebody, they could be arrested for having it. I think it's very sad that we can allow that to happen and that these other ordinances are just like this, criminalizing people that have no way to be able to protect themselves. And we need to be human beings and think about protecting other people, because the protection of other human rights are important to all of us, I would hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug? After he speaks, Julie Patton.
Madam Council President and council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Whether indeed out of a newfound understanding, a long-held, unvoiced concern, or pure political spin, I am truthfully grateful for the movement and momentum we are seeing in regards to the blanket ordinance tonight. The people who find themselves homeless can certainly use the blankets that the City of Pensacola is now helping to collect. However, this last-minute Band-Aid is by no means the end of your responsibility. I am sure that you have felt in the last days a challenging situation, but any hostility, fear, or shame you have been subjected to pales in comparison to that felt by those who are homeless in our area. What is before you is not an issue. They are people. Due to cultural and systemic marginalizations, and what they do not often share with you is a voice that is readily welcomed or heard. As a member of the LGBT community, I have learned the power and the need for allies in the community to overcome stigma and injustice. I plead for you to use your voice, leadership, and power to act in a lasting and meaningful way to explore and gain a true appreciation and understanding of the plight of those who find themselves homeless, our neighbors. As human beings, we are capable of acting with compassion without having had to have firsthand had these experiences. So please, thank you for this attention, and please, it must not stop with a Band-Aid approach. There is much work to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Reverend Booth, Iceberg. Did we get Ms., yes, Ms. Patton.
I'm Julie Patton from 612 Gerhart Drive, a longtime social worker in this community, a member of the League of Women Voters, an instructor at the University of West Florida. And I guess that I see these ordinances being very sad because I think they punish the present group of homeless people for the Occupy movement, basically. The ordinance really didn't exist before that. And I think that it's very unfortunate in this country to punish a group of people for a legal protest. We have private property, we have public property. By definition, the homeless will not be sleeping most nights on private property because they don't own any. What that leaves is public property. And I think that it's very, very unfortunate to make it illegal for someone to keep themselves warm in this cold on that property. I was using the blanket I brought to cover my legs in this chamber because it is very cold. When we think of the homeless, we often think of the men we see on street corners, but as a social worker, what I would implore you to remember is that most of the homeless are women and children, women who are trying to raise their children in cars, women who are trying to raise their children out there on the street. There's a really dreadful backlash both in this county and in Okaloosa County against the homeless right now, and an effort to to clean up the streets in a way that makes us forget that homeless people exist. But I would just remind you that we had a horrible hurricane in 2003. We had a dreadful recession. That was followed by a horrible oil spill, and even the jobs that Grover and the mayor and so forth are bringing now are not going to provide jobs for everybody. Part of that reason is that some of them are women and are children. Part of the reason is that people are mentally ill, they are physically ill, and those are the people with whom I work every day. So I think that we need to get rid of the ordinances
Thank you,
and
Alessandra.
also look at the camping in Satoshi Forest, the whole issue there, and stop making it
Please,
illegal for
thank you.
people to try to live
Thank
in this
you.
country.
Reverend, after Reverend Booth Iceberg, we have Reverend Lee Carlton. Thank you.
Iberg, not
Iberg,
iceberg.
I'm sorry.
Hopefully I'm not an iceberg. This is not my first time to speak to y'all, but thank you for this opportunity. Right before I came here tonight, I was coordinating a feeding of our hungry and homeless on Lee Street, which we do every Thursday night, something that was started by Nathan Monk and that I took over. My church, which is located on 3130 West Fairfield, also serves a large poor and homeless population. We have camps nearby where our church is. We are a small church, only about 100 or about 125 people. However, we serve and feed approximately 90 people every Wednesday and give out 80 boxes of food plus free clothing. I'm not here to applaud us. What I'm here to say is that, yes, we disagree with the ordinances. We want you to repeal those or vote against those. However, as a pastor, as a person who has been a leader in the community, at least in Gulf Breeze, and also our church, what I'm saying is that we want to help with the solution. And I am here to stand up here tonight to tell you that I am willing and able to help you with the solution, as with the different groups that I also work with. And so I want you to know that, yes, I want you to vote this down, but we don't want that just to stop there. I want to be part of the solution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. After Reverend Carlton, it is Jimmy Leith.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I'm here as a person of faith, and historically throughout God's relationship, the divine relationship with humanity, the call to hospitality, caring for the least of these among us, has always been of ultimate importance, it appears to God. It was with the people of Sodom, and it is today with the people of Pensacola. The question that Rabbi Jesus asked, and I believe still asks us, is who is my neighbor? And that is the question which is before you. And that's what we're here tonight to ask you, who is your neighbor? You're elected by the citizens of Pensacola, and we are all in this together. You've heard people say that we want to help you on the task force, and there are qualified people here to help you serve on that task force and find solutions to these issues. But please don't just dismiss this issue. Proceed forward, do the progressive thing, do the right thing, and do the blessed thing. And God will bless you.
We have Hillary Turner, who will follow this gentleman.
Hello, everyone. All of you sitting on the council this evening, did you all stay nice and warm this winter? And did you all stay nice and fed and have a shelter over your head? Wonderful for you, because there's a lot of people in our community who haven't had the privilege to be sheltered and warm and well fed this winter. And they are human beings, just like you. They have blood running through their veins, they have skin, they have hearts, they have emotions, and they have feelings. And to dehumanize them and make them into less than you, they are not less than you, they are you. You are human beings as well. Some of the worst atrocities in human history have been committed by dehumanizing those who we view as less than us, who are marginalized, who are oppressed. To paraphrase a famous quote from the 20th century, first they came for the homeless, and no one spoke up because they weren't homeless. You know, when is it going to end? When is it going to, who's it going to be after this? You know, after you, if you had it your way and moved all the homeless out of your city, who's going to be next? Who's going to be the next victim of your greed, of your, the lack of compassion that you have for people who are already having a hard time, who are already suffering, who are already oppressed and marginalized? So, does it take a bunch of people speaking out to make you realize that you have a heart and that you're a human being as well? Or can you just maybe step back and go, wow, look, we're all in this together, I need to eat, they need to eat, I need shelter, they need shelter. Maybe we should start looking out for each other and we wouldn't have all of these problems that face us nowadays. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Turner. And after Ms. Turner is Barry Anderson.
Good evening. I'm Hillary Turner. I live at 221 North F Street. Oh, sorry. My father, Scott Turner, he's a social worker with the Veterans Affairs for over 20 years. For 10 years, he led the homeless program in Pensacola, and so I'm very familiar with the landscape of homelessness in Pensacola. And I just want to let you know that when you're passing things that hurt the homeless, you're also hurting hundreds of veterans that are living on the streets that have served this country and have been failed by this country. And furthermore, this is not just a political issue. This is a human rights issue. This is 2014. Let's make some progress. We're supposedly the richest country in the world, and we have people dying from freezing to death and starving on the streets of Pensacola. What does that say about us as a city? What does that say about us as a people? And what does that say about those of you who have in your power a lot of funds? We saw tonight millions of dollars of funds that you are controlling where they go. If you want to solve homelessness in this area, if you don't want to see that blight on the street, I don't want to see people living on the street. I want everybody in our community to have homes, to have shelter, to have a bed to sleep in at night. If you want to do something, why don't you open a shelter? Why don't it wouldn't be that hard. I'm a taxpayer too, and I'm sitting here advocating, use my money. Prevent people from starving and freezing to death at night, please. We have a lot of abandoned buildings in Pensacola. We have a lot of space. We have the people of Pensacola tonight have told you we want to resolve this problem in a progressive way, in a creative, intelligent, compassionate way. Thank you.
Thank you. Barry Anderson, please, I ask that you keep it down. Barry Anderson, and after Mr. Anderson, we have Stephen Pulling.
Yeah, I got a situation. My dad's a multimillionaire here in Pensacola, named George Overby, foster dad. Why ain't you all taxing him like you all do tax all of us? For real. Every time I go to work for him, I make $40 a day, 8 hours a day. Why ain't you taxing them? Here I am, sitting homeless. But you all sitting here taxing me for all my money and all these people back behind me. But you don't tax him. Why not? Give me an answer for that.
Thank you. Councilmember Baird, would you want to? You wait till after, okay. Mr. Stephen Pulling. And after him is Ms. Deborah Carnley.
Hello, good evening. Thanks for having me here tonight. I want to do something different. I don't want to make any moral argument or any emotional argument, because I know you're already going to get plenty of that tonight. I want to come at this through rationality. And I want to ask a question directly to the chamber, if that's allowed. Can I ask a question directly?
No, sir, you need to make your comments and continue.
Well,
you can ask the question, and we will listen thoroughly. But
right, so I can ask, and it's just rhetorical?
Right.
They say it's a tree falling in the woods kind of thing? Okay, well, I want to... Okay, well, I want to, in that case, ask... at least maybe get you all to think, what is the logic behind having these ordinances? I mean, is there any logical reason for us to have these ordinances? That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Carnley? And after Ms. Carnley, we have Rick Fry.
Hi, my name is Deborah Carnley. I've been in the city of Pensacola for 1 year. I'm homeless here. I live in a camp that was off W Street. Saturday night, the police came out after dark, and they did not announce themselves. They came through a wooded area and just simply started cutting my tarps. And we were all told we had to leave. A lot of us have packed our stuff, left. I found a new place to go by the help of the homeless. The homeless have helped me find another place to set up and someone to help watch me to be safe. Yet, there are several people that were not told to leave from off this property that I was told was private property, that we couldn't stay there, but there are still people that were allowed to stay there. This is a wonderful, wonderful city that helps the homeless. They feed the homeless, they clothe the homeless, the churches just go above and beyond to help you. The organizations here go above and beyond to help the homeless. And I think we need to look at not the situation at hand, but look at the progress that is going to come. The homeless are going to have shelter. Just look at this as it's going to happen. They're going to be given places to stay. They're going to be put off the streets because there are enough churches here, enough organizations to see that that happens. And thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Mr. Rick Fry, and after Mr. Fry is Jeremy Basso.
Hey, I'm Rick Fry. I came and spoke to you before. You might not remember me because you cut every word I said out of your video, where I was talking about the seafood testing and that people were smelling it and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't know if you remember. Well, I'm back again because you're just embarrassing me. I mean, people like call me a stupid redneck when I'm on. I surf and listen to rap music, and people are calling me a dumb redneck because you're passing laws that just make us all look stupid. I mean, every time I watch the news, Mobile beats us in everything, every project. Why don't you worry about Mobile and getting that project that we always lose and getting jobs so these people won't be homeless? You're prosecuting people, or persecuting people, sorry, that are veterans and mentally challenged. Have you ever sat, I've sat with Nathan Monk. Have you ever fed these people? There's one guy that wears a tinfoil jacket. Where's he gonna get a job? Who's he gonna work for? Some of these people they're just mentally messed, they're just not right. This is not their fault. They don't mean anything by it. They're not bad people. They can't fix themselves. They have problems. And your solution is I'm going to give them a blanket, and you can arrest me. You can do whatever you want to do. I really don't care. Just let me know.
Thank you. Jeremy Basso.
Good evening. I'm going to keep it a little short tonight. I had a lot more prepared, but I think everybody's pretty much spoken from their hearts. So I just want to say this. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. That's in our Declaration of Independence, in case you needed a reminder. The Fifth Amendment states in part that nor shall any person be put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. The 14th Amendment in part states that no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process. The Florida Constitution echoes this in Article 1, Section 2 under Basic Rights. It states in part that all natural persons have inalienable rights, among which are the right to enjoy and defend life and liberty. Article 1, Section 9 of the Florida Constitution under due process states that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And I just would like to point out that the reason I'm mentioning the issues of life and liberty here is because I firmly believe that no one should have to choose between their right to life and their right to liberty. You shouldn't be compelled to choose, should I defend my right to life by covering up and keeping warm, but risk my liberty by going to jail? You should never be forced to choose which rights you have. Those rights are inalienable. They're given to us by our Creator and not by government. And so I would like to speak in support of Councilwoman Meyer's amendment, and I also would like to echo the concerns of others, and please consider the other ordinances that were discussed as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Sampson. Mr. Sampson.
Gary.
Gary. Mr. Sampson. Sampson. And after Mr. Sampson, it will be our last speaker, Mr. George Wells.
Now, Gary Sampson, citizen of the city of Five Flags, 1517 East Jackson. Now I see it's down to 2 minutes. Are you trying to cut off my right to speak? I know there's a big crowd, but you should wait. You people ask me, what the hell have I been trying to tell you for all these years? Okay? It's okay. We've almost stolen their future. With the dot-com bubble, the war of mass destruction, you know what? Wall Street did bounce and still, I figure almost $500 million more from my county. The war has wounded a lot of vets, and thanks Hillary for bringing up the vets. Most of them in the Army and Marines are trained to what? To kill. They have no training. They need some training. Now the homeless, what affects all that money taken out of our county? Again, you've stolen their future. $500 million or more? Now, how do we respond to it? We educate ourselves. We learn the word impact. We learn the word apprentice. And we take our time and give back their future. We're going to have homeless, and we will ask the council to set up a panel and work with it. These issues that are brought, that's on the national level, filters down to us. Thank you, Mr. Wingate. We can reverse a vote or make a good vote. Now, the homeless issue, it's going to take us a long time. It took us years to create it. It's going to take a long time to correct it. Now, how do we start? First, educate ourselves. How do we do that as a council, work with the city, work with the county, the issues? First off, oh my God, I wish.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson.
Please don't arrest me.
No, we're not going to arrest you, Mr. Sampson.
Don't even touch me.
But I hold
One
the
thing
card
is
to you.
look into the damn city charter and understand your powers, what you can and cannot do. Please, educate yourselves about our new charter.
Thank you. Mr. Wells. George Wells.
Good evening, everybody. I'm George Wells. I am a criminal. I live on public land. It's not by choice. I was robbed of every tool I had, put me down, and I'm trying to get back up. I work every day, some days for no pay, but I work every day. We had police officers, sheriffs, come to our camp and tell us to leave. If this ordinance is passed, they can come up to anybody and tell them to leave with threat of arrest. It's not comfortable. I'm in the same spot because we haven't moved yet. Transportation is a slight problem when you don't have any. We'll be leaving on Saturday, but between now and Saturday, those sheriffs, they show up again, they can haul us off to jail because we are criminals. We are trespassing. Is this just an insight to what this blanket law is going to happen in the city of Pensacola? It's not going to be nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Michael Kimbrough, I had 2 cards for you. I just wanted to make sure that you spoke. Mr. Kimbrough? He did speak. Okay. Thank you. We have no other cards. I have 2 council members. We're going to start with Councilmember Myers and then Councilmember Bear.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone who spoke and everyone who showed up in support of this amendment to this ordinance. Someone asked the question earlier, what is the logic of this. And I have to ask myself every time I read this, what is the logic of this? First of all, this ordinance doesn't just impact the homeless. It doesn't use the word homeless in the ordinance. It's supposed to be neutral. However, it applies to all citizens and not just citizens who are homeless. If you are at the Maritime Park enjoying a concert outside at the amphitheater, where we have no seating, by the way, you have to bring your own. A lot of people bring blankets, and you should lie down or even sit, because the ordinance outlaws, makes illegal the act of sleeping. Now, you can do anything you want to under a sleeping bag, on or under newspapers and all of that, but sleeping, no. Now, so you could lay around all day long on Jackson Square, on any of these things, or under them, or over them, or whatever, as long as you don't sleep. But if you fall asleep on one of our parks, at one of our events, you could be approached by a police officer, if the police officer could even make the determination that you are asleep. I don't know how you do that. Just because somebody has their eyes closed doesn't mean they are asleep. So, first of all, an officer would have to make the determination that there's probable cause that a person is sleeping, even if the person is sitting up, because it doesn't say you have to be lying down to be sleeping. You just have to be sleeping. To me, this ordinance is illogical. And also, it's very personal to me in a way, and let me tell you why. My mother had narcolepsy, and I've told this before. My mother, if she ever sat down, she fell asleep. The only way she could stay awake was standing up, and I've even seen her fall asleep standing up. So if we went to a concert down here, I guarantee you, my mother would be asleep within 5 minutes. My mother would have been criminalized under this ordinance. And my mother actually was run out of several places. When she happened to fall asleep in a laundry, she could not drive. She walked everywhere because she couldn't drive. She couldn't sit down. She'd go to sleep. And I remember her being harassed by the police just for being asleep. When she was an elderly lady with her little hair, gray hair up in a bun, I was really incensed one time when she told me she had been run out of a laundry by a police officer. That still burns me up today, because that officer assumed because that little old lady with the gray hair was homeless. That was what it was all about. This ordinance needs to be repealed. This provision in the ordinance having to do with sleeping on or under something. There are other things I don't like about the ordinance. I recommended these changes because I felt that's what I could get passed. I'm hoping, I don't have a second on this yet, do I?
Yes, you do.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Right, I would love to see a unanimous vote tonight. And you know what? I want it to be on behalf of my mother. I love my mother. She was a good person, and she didn't deserve the treatment she got just because she looked homeless. And no citizen deserves to be criminalized for doing something that's natural, and that is sleeping. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Baer.
Thank you, Madam President. When this ordinance was first passed, I voted against it 4 times. That's one more than Councilwoman Myers, because she misvoted once. We all know she was against it. So, but when she brought this up again, I was wondering, why are we doing this now? I realize we're in the middle of winter, and conditions are bad. We had an unprecedented ice storm, and people were suffering. And then there was a lot of activity. Mr. Monk, Mr. Basso got a lot of people excited about this, and I think influenced the mayor. And I think they struck the Achilles heel when they made it go nationwide, and people saw that Pensacola was not a good place to go. And so when I originally looked at this, I thought, well, this is a good start. But then I thought, well, if the mayor is in a mood to go back on this ordinance, why are we just sticking with this little piece? And then I thought, well, I don't like the entire ordinance. And I think taking just a little piece is not enough. Now, I'm not sure what my fellow council members think or what the mayor has approved, but at this point, I'd like to make an amendment that we strike everything after, in the ordinance, it says Section 1, Section 8-1-22 of the Code of the City of Pensacola, Florida, is hereby amended to read as follows, and strike everything, Section 8-1-22 from this ordinance. That's my amendment.
Please. He made a motion, there was no second, and so we're going to go
Well, I
back.
was waiting until I had an opportunity. I second the motion.
Can I speak to my motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. This ordinance is a cop-out on the part of city government. What this says is that we are going to make homelessness criminal. It's a criminal activity. And I don't care what you say about who this applies to. I bet you if a group of Cub Scouts was out on public land in a tent, you wouldn't arrest them, you wouldn't tear up their tents or anything. What this did was say, well, we don't have another solution, so let's just make it illegal. The real issue here is that we need to have a solution. Now, the task force, I do support a task force, and many of you know it was the procedure, but ultimately I'm going to support a task force to look at the solutions, the way we can do this. We do have vacant buildings, I've heard that mentioned. Well, I have even talked to the superintendent about it, in particular, I think it's the old Pickens School that is vacant right now. But we've got to have a solution, and I was struck this weekend, or this week actually, by looking back at the town that I grew up in, which is up in Woodbridge, Virginia, which is very close to D.C., and they have a homeless camp out there, people in tents, and they collected propane tanks, used and full, and took them out to people there, a group that was there, and they were allowed to camp out there. And they do I know we do a survey of the homeless, well, they have quite a few more than we do, and they do a survey, and they look at the needs of the population that they have there. And, I've heard from other people that say, well, we just need to get the homeless out of our community. And, I'm a veteran, and so I take personal offense to that because I know there are a lot of veterans on our streets. And I didn't get elected this job just to take care of the people that were in houses that had money. I did this to protect the people and provide public safety for the people in this city, in the city limits. And I really think we need to work with the county on this as well. But I think we need to get rid of this ordinance and then address the real issue, which is why are we making this a crime? And I think we never should have done it. I think if any time, this is the time to try and amend this and just see where we go. And we'll see what kind of votes we get from my fellow council members, especially the 6 that voted for it the first time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Myers. Councilmember Myers, you still had your light on. Did you want to say anything else?
Yes, I want to speak to Councilman Bear's motion. We have a motion on the floor.
Yes, the amendment, yes.
Yeah. And, I can tell you why I support the motion. I've never liked this ordinance. The city of Pensacola has had homeless people living down here for many, many years on what was at that time Bruce Beach and the Trillium property for many, many years. And I think what gave impetus to this ordinance here were two things. Originally, it was passed, we had a no camping ordinance that was passed in 1968. I think that ordinance was passed because the city of Pensacola did not want a replication of Dr. Martin Luther King's tent city in Washington, D.C. in 1968. Well, there wasn't a tent city established here, but the ordinance stayed on the books anyway, in spite of the fact for years and years homeless people were camped out across the street from City Hall. This ordinance came about in its revised form that addresses sleeping, I think, because of the Occupy movement here. And I think it's in retaliation for people exercising their First Amendment rights to address their grievances to the government. This ordinance does not address the root causes of homelessness, and it never will. All it does is oppress. So I support the motion, and I hope that council, that we have enough votes tonight to repeal this ordinance. If not, my motion will still be on the floor, and we can vote on it. So all is not lost. I just want you to understand the process.
Seeing no other lights for Councilman Wingate.
Could we wait until the other councilman gets back? Tahar, he stepped out for a minute. Or do I need to filibuster?
Yeah, he's back. He's back. Please vote. The motion fails. Shame on you. The motion fails. Okay. Excuse me, we ask, okay, that we keep our decorum here, even though we may disagree with what the results are.
You have no respect for people who don't have a place to live.
Huh?
Doesn't fail.
From my interpretation of the rule is that it takes 5 council members to
I think so.
5 council members. Mr. Nessa?
Yeah, it takes 5.
It takes 5 council members. We have a 9 council member. Again, we ask for a decorum and respect. You may disagree with it, but that is it. Okay? So now the amendment failed, and we are going to the amendment. We're going to go back to the original amendment. Excuse me.
Listen, we didn't ask for this originally. They were going to pass what we asked.
Let's vote on the main motion. Council members, we are going to vote on the main motion.
Wait just a minute. We're asking for an opinion from the city attorney here on the number of people required to pass. Yes, I know. Maybe this needs to be fixed, but right now, we...
Yeah, let's please maintain order, please. Thank you.
Section 4.03 of the Charter, City Council Procedures, Parent C, which has to do with voting and quorums, among other things, says that no action of City Council, except as otherwise provided in the preceding sentence, which is not relevant to what we're talking about, shall be valid or binding unless adopted by the affirmative vote of the majority of the existing membership of City Council. The existing membership of City Council is 9. The majority is 5.
The majority is 5. We are going to go back to the original amendment, number 8, and we're going to vote. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.